Joining us now, Richard Haass, President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations. Also with us, retired Admiral James Stavridis, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO and NBC News Chief International Analyst. So, Richard, I heard you earlier here on MSNBC say that you see this as a turning point moment in the Middle East. Can you explain what you mean?
Excuse me, sure, quite possibly. Up to now, most of the focus recently has been on Israel and its relationship with the Palestinians, historically for the last, 50, 60 years. Most recently over the last 12 months with Hamas. But now we've seen things spread to the northern border very intensely with Hezbollah, and obviously state-to-state conflict potentially now between Israel and Iran. That's a qualitatively different thing.
And so, Admiral, I'm just wondering, is Israel's now needing to respond to this massive missile attack? I mean, nearly 200 missiles yesterday. It's almost like, is this one other step on the ladder of escalation?
Unfortunately, it is. And let's start with those 200 missiles. Those were all ballistic missiles, super high speed. They go from Iran to hitting in Israel in 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Very difficult to defend against. Iron Dome doesn't do it. It's a hard air defense problem. So Israel, Richard's exactly right, is going to respond. The degree to which they respond will determine whether this is, in fact, a turning point or whether there's still a climb down available here. If you ask me to put odds on it, I think there's a 25% chance that this turns into a wider war, that being one that involves Iran moving even more force against Israel, Israel striking directly against Iran, and the distinct possibility of the United States getting pulled into it. 1 in 4. That's uncomfortably high.
Yes, it is. Guys, stay with us. I want to bring in Raf Sanchez, who's joining us from northern Israel. And Raf, you have some new reporting this morning on a potential response by Israel. What do you know?
Yeah, Anna, we're actually at an elementary school in central Israel, and I just want to start by walking you through the scene here. One of those 181 Iranian ballistic missiles came crashing down right here. This was a 10-foot crater. Israeli crews have since filled it up, but the force of that explosion blasting through the walls and windows of this classroom. And I just want to walk you through this, frankly, kind of ghostly scene. You can see along here are the faces of the children who studied in here, 8, 9 years old. And along this back wall, some of their pictures still, whiteboard where they were studying. I think there was English lessons going on here. And as you walk around, just the crunch of glass underfoot, which makes you think, if this Iranian missile had come down when there were children in here, what could have happened? Now, the strike happened late at night. This classroom was empty. Miraculously, almost, the Israeli government is saying there are no reports of anyone killed or injured in Israel as a result. There was one Palestinian man in the occupied West Bank killed by part of a falling missile. The question now, how, when, and at what scale will Israel retaliate? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today meeting with his military and intelligence chiefs, making very clear Israel will respond. An Israeli official telling me a little earlier today, this response will come swiftly. It will be a matter of days, and Israel is determined to make the point that this kind of attack will not go unanswered.
Raf, the achievement of a country protecting itself from 180 missiles, as the Admiral was saying. These are missiles that are shot and 10 minutes later reach their target. How extraordinary is that? How is Israel able to do this?
Well, with a lot of help from the United States, Jose. It was U.S. intelligence that first detected that Iran was preparing to launch this attack, and then there were U.S. Navy destroyers in the greater Middle East that helped intercept at least some of these incoming. But you're absolutely right. When there was that major attack back in April by Iran on Israel, they fired 300 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Those drones are very slow moving. Israel had about 9 hours heads up that this attack was underway. That was not the case yesterday. About 10 minutes, 11 minutes in between those missiles being fired and them entering Israeli airspace. A lot of this was Israel's vaunted Iron Dome missile defense system taking down some of these incoming. There were Israeli warplanes in the skies taking out others. But Jose, Classrooms like this are the most visible aftermath of this strike. What we do not yet know at this point is how many of those Iranian missiles did get through and hit sensitive places like Israeli military air bases. Guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Raf Sanchez, for that reporting. Boy, that 12-foot crater, that really does give you a sense of how powerful these weapons are. So what can bring down the temperature at this point, Richard? We know diplomatically there's got to be talks happening behind the scenes. We know Israel came to the aid, or I should say U.S. came to the aid of Israel in this particular attack to defend Israel. But the U.S. has been adamant escalation is not going to de-escalate the situation. So who is Israel listening to? Anybody?
Well, the goal may not be to de-escalate the situation. Israel has real strategic concerns with Hezbollah. It does not want to have an Iranian-backed army on its border, making it impossible for tens of thousands of its citizens to live in their homes. And Israel doesn't, shall we say, want to continue with an Iran that pressures Israel through its proxies with impunity, and now is attacking Israel directly for the second time. So Israel's going to respond, and it should respond to restore deterrence. The United States potentially can shape some of its choices about the scale of the response, the nature of the targets. Is it the nuclear? Is it energy targets? Is it just conventional military targets where they make and store various missiles and so forth? I think the U.S. can have influence there. But Israel is going to respond in order to essentially tell the Iranians, you attack us at your peril. And you can see, you are going to now pay an enormous price, and deterrence needs to be restored here.